I call this meeting of the South Bradford Board of Education together at 6:30. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda, first of all, our Secretary Daniel will not be here today, so Misha Early will be taking minutes for us. Would you please call the roll?
Anthony Johnson.
Here.
Amanda Fletcher.
Here.
Cheryl Fletcher.
Here.
Misha Early, President. Shirley Tolliver.
Present. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Item 11 and item 13 will be crossed off, and we'll do that at the next board meeting. Are there any other direct corrections? Other than those corrections, the agenda will be as written. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's communication. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to recognize Ms. Diamond Jones from the Vandenberg Elementary School staff as being their staff member of the month and being recognized for January. As Diamond is an ongoing team player and she's always ready and prepared to support any class, as she is one of our go-to guest teachers and is well known for being kind and caring and always goes above and beyond. So hats off to Ms. Diamond Jones over at Vandenberg Elementary School. Also, speaking of Vandenberg Elementary School, they hosted a lunch and learn with approximately 65 families on January 31st, in which they fostered quite a bit of family engagement and talking about bolstering educational outcomes as a partnership between the community as well as the school. And they did some communication exercises together to increase socialization as well as communication between the school as well as Vandenberg families. And a special thanks to the supporting teachers that helped orchestrate the lunch and learn on January 31st. We would like to recognize Ms. Amy Shilby, Jerry Barnoskis, Jill Conti, Paige Nicholson, Miss Cian, as well as Miss Lorena. As if it were not for their efforts, this lunch and learn would not have been possible. And then lastly, but certainly not least, in the spirit of recognizing Black History Month, I would like to recognize and lift up our very own Ms. Tolliver, our board president, who was recognized by the Redford Township community from the Commonwealth Church for her ongoing efforts in leaning and lifting the entire community here in South Redford. And so there's going to be an event this weekend recognizing President Tolliver's efforts in leaning and lifting the community, taking place at Commonwealth Church. And this event will join the excellence in Black history, as well as acknowledging how we can continue to move forward as a community. And so hats off to President Tolliver for being recognized here on the south end of the community from Commonwealth Church and being recognized by several community members for this upcoming event. And then additionally, we have quite a few Black history events taking place all across the district this month. And so for more details, it's out there on our social media pages, as well as being promoted from all of our buildings as well. So that concludes my communications this evening, Madam President.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is board communications. Are there any? I have one. I mentioned it at our last meeting. On February the 20th, Wayne County Association of School Boards will have a general meeting and a meet and greet from 6 to 8 o'clock. And I'm asking all board members to be there. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience. Are there any? There are none. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to adopt the consent agenda?
To the chair,
Yes,
I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution, please.
Support.
it's been moved by Mrs. Fletcher and supported by Mrs. Early. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 5 ayes, 0 nays. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda is the presentation of Jefferson Elementary School. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, we have several guests this evening here from Jefferson Elementary School. And so I would like to turn it over to the entire Jefferson team for their presentation to the Board of Education this evening about how things are going over at Jefferson Elementary School. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Jefferson team and Principal Riccozzi.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share the work that we are doing at Jefferson. First, before we get started, I would like to introduce our Jefferson team that is here with us. Thank you. We have Kathy Bastine, one of our kindergarten teachers, and Jody Fabian is right next to her, our kindergarten teacher. We see Bree Harris is one of our first grade teachers. Thank you, Taylor Kirkendale. She's one of our third grade teachers. We have Allie Hamill, who is teaching fourth grade this year. Linda O'Donnell, who is teaching fifth grade this year. We have Emily Frisk, who is our TC. Thank you for being here. Kay Schufelt is our instructional coach. And then, of course, we have Kyla Page, who is our assistant principal. So I'm happy to have all of them here today. And some of them are going to be sharing the work that we're doing here at Jefferson. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And we know that these are our three big rocks from our district. And so today I'm going to be spending a lot of time talking about our curriculum instruction and assessment and looking at our guaranteed and viable curriculum that we're using with our high quality instruction. Today I'm going to be showing you the MSTEP scores, and the level of proficiency is all we're going to be looking at today. We understand that there are other levels, but today you'll see our proficiency scores from last year. So in our ELA for our MSTEP scores of last year, our third graders, 28% of them were proficient in ELA. In fourth grade, we had 23 students that fell in the proficiency range. And then in fifth grade, we had 21% of our students that fell in the proficiency range. In math, in third grade, 35% of our students were in the proficiency range. In fourth grade, we had 25, and in fifth grade, we had 7% of our students. In science and social studies, we had 16% of our students that were proficient in MSTEP, and in social studies, we actually had 0% of our students that were proficient. So before we dive further into our next steps, we certainly want to talk about the data that we see. And the first thing that we needed to do was, of course, identify some possible root causes. We understand that the students that are in our testing grades are still having, they still had a huge impact of loss of instructional opportunities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As you'll see further along in our presentation tonight, that we understand the importance of high quality instruction practices and that strong curriculum that meets the needs of our basic instruction in that Tier 1 line. We also know that we have had a teacher retention issue in fourth grade due to staff leaves of absences. And we know that this shows the importance of having a certified teacher in every classroom to meet the needs of the students. In addition to that, at Jefferson, today I shared with you our proficiency scores, but it's also important to look at growth overall. So not only do we celebrate our students that are in the proficient level, but when we look at the growth of students, we're identifying students that are moving from the very bottom, the red not proficient, to partially proficient. And we're not seeing that growth today because we only identified our proficient students, but that's something that we're looking at as well. and understanding that all growth is important. So when we focus on this understanding, we have a better understanding of our deficiencies and how we're best targeting and meeting the needs of all of our students. So here's what we have identified. So we have identified building grade level proficiencies and deficiencies. We've identified growth deficiencies by grade level. We've identified our 2024 MSTEP claim and target strengths and areas of weaknesses that we can target in our Tier 1 instruction. We've identified students that are advanced and need opportunities to continue to be challenged. Once we've identified our level of proficiencies and deficiencies, we're able to start making plans for improvement and growth across the grade levels and the classroom. So what are we going to do? We've identified our MSTEP standard proficiencies by student. We've identified individual students that have shown MSTEP growth from the 23 to the 24 year. We've identified students that are close to proficiency that we've put in our after-school tutoring to give them that boost of where they need to be. In addition to looking at just our one data point of our MSTEP, we've also started looking more at more data points, including our Acadians testing, which we're doing K-5 all students, our NWEA testing, and our program testing. This helps us take a deeper dive into the multiple assessment types that we have, and it gives us a better understanding of our students' true academic abilities. So now what? This year, we are focusing on our Tier 1 instruction. So continued purposeful targeted instruction based on the science of learning to strengthen our Tier 1, and that's our core, all students get it. We've been taking a deeper dive and an understanding of our district adopted curriculum, especially the different components of our Bridges in mathematics, and integrating our number corner, which is part of that, encompassing all parts of strong mathematical instruction. And we have started doing an integration of science and social studies within our writing program to help strengthen and expand our students' knowledge building. And of course, we're continuing to provide high quality professional development for all of our staff to support our instruction for our students. So a little bit more about what that looks like. When we have to identify our guaranteed and viable curriculum, this ensures that all of our students are getting the same high quality instruction in all of the grades across Jefferson. So we're defining clear learning expectations for every content. We're providing all students an equal opportunity to learn the essential content. We're developing and using proficiency scales within our classrooms. And we are using data-driven assessment to inform our next step instructions. So today we're going to be talking a lot about our Bridges program. And thinking about our district adapted curriculum, when I'm talking about Tier 1, remember that's that area on the bottom pyramid, that's all students are getting the same quality instruction that's at their grade level. And so our district adapted curriculum, of course, reading is SFA, Success for All, and UFly. In math, we're using Bridges in Mathematics, which includes Number Corner. In science, we're using Mystery Science, and in social studies, we're using the MC3. So I do want to talk a little bit about what that instruction looks like as we're looking with that lens of math. So when we are diving into the programs, we want to look at the 5 different areas of mathematical instruction to ensure that we are helping our students reach their fullest potential as mathematicians. So we're looking at conceptual understanding, which helps the students reflect on their ability to reason and in settings involving careful application of concepts and definitions. It helps them with relations, of representations of numbers and letters. When we look at procedural fluency, this is the ability to apply procedures accurately, efficiently, and flexibly. So this is more than just quick math facts, it's that they can apply it. In strategic competence, we're looking for students are able to formulate mathematical problems and represent them and solve them. In adaptive reasoning, we're looking for students to be able to have the capacity to think logically and think about the relationship among what they're doing within the math concepts and the situations. Students with adaptive reasoning can think logically about the math, and they can explain and justify what they're doing. So we're asking our students to have a lot of math discourse to talk about the work that they're doing. And then productive disposition is the tendency to see sense in mathematics. This allows them to perceive it as both useful and worthwhile, because we want them to be able to know how to apply the mathematical concepts that they're learning. And so something that we started this year was the science and social studies integration within our writing. And so when we're looking at that, the purpose behind that is it allows the students to have thematic learning and connection making. They're learning content in science and social studies, they're reading about it in their SFA, and they're writing about it in their writing time. It's helping to build their knowledge. We know that a lot of the test for the science and social studies test is knowledge building. So when we can bring together all of the knowledge from all of the contents and connect them, we see greater connections. We're increasing their critical thinking skills. We're increasing their ability to comprehend information and texts. And it allows for opportunities for double dosing, or this is giving the content multiple ways. So even with integration, we should be delivering high quality science and social studies lessons. There's more to these subjects than just text reading, though text reading certainly matters. This integration process creates opportunities for that double dosing or double dipping and extending the lessons rather than just making the curriculum more efficient. So it's not just a matter of time and crunching it together, but they're connecting it and seeing it together. So today I would like to invite some of our teachers up to join so they can share the impact that their instruction is having on our Jefferson Scholars. So first I'd like to bring up Kathy Bastine and Taylor Kirkendale. They are going to discuss with you Number Corner's impact on mathematical growth. And then we have a few snippets to show you of it in action.
Is it okay if I talk for a minute and then we show it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening today. Again, I'm the kindergarten teacher, and Jody Fabian is the other kindergarten teacher. So we're working really hard to get those math scores up. We obviously see our proficiency is low. We need to work way down here so that they can build the foundation, be ready for all the challenges in math. One of the specific areas that we did some deep diving, as Ms. Raposi said, is the part of Bridges in Number Corner. Because it's probably easy to do the easier parts of Number Corner. Number Corner is not just a calendar with date cards and songs, which kindergartners love, don't get me wrong. But we needed to dig a little deeper and do the repetitive other parts of the program. So kindergarten has a calendar grid, it has a collector, it has days in school count. Those are all fun and they're always engaging, but we really needed to be more consistent with our computational fluency activities and games and our number line workout routine as well. Those activities spiral through the month, and Jody and I are making a really conscious effort this year to make sure we are very tight in our planning. There are opportunities for all the workouts. If we have a short month, we want to make sure that we hit these bigger ones that we're going to be doing, the concepts that really build that foundation. So what we've done is consistently looked at our schedule. It's within these parts, the computational fluency and the number line work, that our students really develop those heavy concept of understanding of counting and number sense, manipulating those math tools, like knowing really how to use that and more efficiently, using finger patterns and 10 frames and 5 frames, recognizing and ordering numbers and their values, and many more. We've used grade level time with Kay Schufelt. We've used staff meeting as well to try to tighten up that organization. As to not miss any important thing. We need to really cover it all, even if we have to shorten it. So, one of our clips, can I?
Yeah.
let me say something for you. The clip you're about to see shows students playing a game called Flash and Find, which is a math workout. We call it workout for our brains and our math muscles in the number line component of kindergarten. So the game itself is called Flash and Find, and it uses our pocket chart number line, 0 to 20. So students were asked to use their eagle eyes quickly to look at the card. So in other words, they had to look at this card for a few seconds. And yes, that is a double 10 frame, so those a lot of dots. We don't want to see kids going like this. So the ultimate goal is to see the dots in chunks, but students were asked to see it quickly and then match it to a numeral on the number line. So in doing workouts like this, Jody and I have seen improvements in students being able to actually explain their thinking in how they see those numbers. Are they clustered? Do you see the frame so that you see 110 filled and more? So there's a lot of place value and other kinds of concepts there, but do they see familiar patterns? Do they see any are there any misconceptions to clear up there? Are they counting one by one? Is that the stage they're at? A lot of assessment opportunities for sure. With that. This is Jody Fabian's classroom. She's holding up this card. So as you saw, actually those two boys did see number in chunks. So we've been talking about groups of 10 and more. So both of them, I love how they worked as a partner to try to find that number on the number line as well. So they saw 10 and 4 more. Actually, Adam said he saw, Miles said 4 and 10, which that's okay. He was able to put those together to say 14. Strategically, I actually did this today in my classroom because I didn't have videotape, but I did that, and it was interesting because one of the girls, that we also hold up our fingers to show sometimes if you haven't, obviously enough. We also have 10 frames that just use the 2 hands. But, so I flashed up 16 and I saw her hold up this. So she raised her hand and said 6. And I said, that's awesome, like you saw a 6 there. Tell me more. So she says, yep, I saw 6 red dots. And so I flashed it again and she said, oh, wait a minute. There's another 10 there. So that would be 10 and 6. These opportunities are wonderful to actually have them explain their thinking. So, and then they can fix it or talk to a partner as well. So obviously this lends itself for quick assessment because you can see where kids are seeing number quantity, if they can break down numbers, if they can see numbers in a variety of ways. Are they systematizing? Can they just see it quickly? Can they communicate their reasoning to a partner? And that's really the foundation we do in kindergarten because we really want them to do a math talk. So we want them to be able to tell others or possibly agree or disagree with their partner. Today, there was one other example when a boy actually, I held up the 19 card and so he was talking, while I was walking around, he said, oh yes, to his partner, this is 90. And she says, no, 90? Did you see Miss Bastine hold up 9 of those 10 cards like over there, like how many days we're in school? She wouldn't have enough hands. What are you talking about? So it was cool to like have them talk it through. So I said, well, so tell them more about what you saw. And so I flashed it at them again, and he said, oh, there's only 110. So he had to confirm and count it, and I let him count all, and then 9 more, and he got to 19. But it's that whole agree and disagree and be able to hear from somebody else what they thought, and then hear from their partner. So I actually had them stand up and do it in front of the class so that they could, understand that it's okay to be not exactly right, and it's okay to explain that and tell somebody else. So it was a good, definitely a good lesson. So as you can see, number corner components help drive our math talks in class all the time. They definitely strengthen our number sense. There are many opportunities to make sense of problems, persevere in solving them, and model and use mathematic tools efficiently. Make use of a structure and construct and critique somebody else's mathematical reasoning, all which are part of the math essential practices that you just said. Lastly, we do notice that the number corner workouts help our students by pre-teaching the concepts that we may just want an introduction to. So in other words, and they actually do nicely complement the Bridges problem and investigations lessons. So like in November, our calendar routines were rooted in 2D and 3D shapes. Well, right now we're actually teaching that concept, so it gave them a little bit of prior knowledge there, and now they can connect with that. And then also, right now in our February number corner routines, we're heavily doing some comparison of numbers and sets. That's important for kindergarten to build their number sense. Well, we had just taught that unit, so it's either the number corner either pre-teaches, or you can also review the concepts. So it works out very well. But we really want to thank you for listening to our important work in kindergarten, because it does all start, even though they're young learners, it does all start down there. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Now for Taylor.
Alright, hello again. I am Taylor Kirkdale. I'm one of the 3rd grade teachers. Ms. Samsel is my co-teacher. She is the one that's going to be in the video. Alright, our math curriculum, Bridges in Mathematics, provides explicit teaching through daily practice activities that displays the usage of classroom calendar for students to have ongoing reinforcement of math concepts like number sense, patterns, counting, and data analysis. All of the concepts build fluency and deepen students' understanding through our daily activities that involve different manipulative tools and visual representations. In the month of February, we are focusing on geometry, measurements, fractions, multiplication, fluency, and problem solving with graphs and data. Some concepts have been previously taught during our Tier 1 math instruction, as others are being newly introduced, such as measurement and fractions. Our daily activity gives students exposure to concepts so that they are familiarized once the concept is taught. In today's presentation, our students are working on comparing fractions. The concept includes the use of a number line. With scaffolding, students are to locate fractions on the number line and create their own marks of fractions. For this one, they're creating halves, fourths, and I believe eighths. Our fraction number line is then used throughout the month as a fraction game of comparing fractions, as well as identifying fractions that are equal to or different whole numbers. Students are already learning fractions in our math instruction. Integrated with the support of Number Corner, students in 3rd grade are able to relate Number Corner activities to daily math instruction during our Bridges math lessons.
So, did you have anything? So as you can see, during our number corners, it's more than just calendar. Our students are really able to dive into their mathematical practice and have great discourse. So thank you for sharing. I would like to bring up next Miss Allie Hamill and Mrs. Linda O'Donnell to discuss the impact our writing integration is having with our science and social studies.
Hi everyone, my name is Allie Hamill. I'm one of the 4th grade teachers. You will see my co-teacher, Dylan Duchesne, also in the video clip. I'm excited today to talk about the integration in writing that we've done with our science and social studies units. It's benefiting our 4th grade students so much. This approach is not only enhancing their understanding of the content, but it's also helping them grow as communicators and critical thinkers. This cross-curricular approach has been beneficial for our students, encouraging them to make connections between the world around them in a way that feels natural and exciting. In the clip, you're going to see our students working on their current project. Earlier this year, our students learned about different monuments in the United States in our language arts curriculum, Success for All. Last quarter, in our social studies curriculum, students learned about the Underground Railroad. For Black History Month, our students are combining their learning from language arts, social studies, and writing to choose an important figure to the Underground Railroad, create a small-scale monument of them, and then write a short essay persuading why they believe this person deserves a monument. Integrating writing in these subjects has also supported students in organizing their thoughts and articulating complex ideas more effectively. It fosters not just stronger writing skills, but also greater engagement with the material, as students are actively reflecting on and discussing what they've learned. Overall, this integration is going wonderfully for our 4th graders. It's helping them develop a well-rounded set of skills that will benefit them throughout their education and beyond.
Allie said it all for me for 5th grade. But hello, I'm Linda O'Donnell, one of the 5th grade teachers at Jefferson. Each day, our students engage in writing activities based on a weekly research question or assignment related to our science or social studies topics. Through this practice, we have seen significant improvements in their writing skills, their ability to express their learning, and their understanding of the concepts we have covered. Mr. Drew and I believe this ongoing development will support their transition to middle school and helping them become more confident and effective communicators.
In the clip, you're gonna see one of my students is kind of explaining the process that we go through each week and she was working on her animal research project. This connects to the work I'm doing with Michigan Learning Channel, which is a trusted PBS resource. Along with Al McBroom at Fisher, I've been selected as a teacher fellow in the iconic Michigan Storytelling Program. Under the guidance of Michigan Learning Channel's Matt Dillon and South Redford's own Kara Clayton, we are receiving coaching and resources to help our students explore digital storytelling. And through this program, we are equipping the students with tools to tell meaningful stories about their communities. Our focus is going to center on our science topic, where does clean water come from? And it's a question directly tied to our role within the Rouge River watershed. So stay tuned, because this spring, we will be submitting our students' stories, which will be featured on PBS. So here's the clip.
We understand you can't hear either. I apologize for that. So we are sending you the link of the video if you'd like to watch it.
So these are just the students working on their projects. They've been taking notes throughout the week, and they're transferring their notes into their writing.
Wednesday, we wrote a paragraph about what we learned some more. Then Thursday, we wrote another paragraph about the African lion. Then Monday, we're learning about Friday, we're learning about the African lion, about how where it lives, and explaining its habits.
Okay, so that's all going to be in one what? Paragraph or paper?
Paper.
Okay.
Thank you so much. All right. Sorry. All right, so I would like to share with you some exciting things in addition to that we have going on at Jefferson. I'm excited, this is our second annual now Black History Celebration Open House at Jefferson Elementary. We have all sorts of good things happening on February 20th, and we would love for you to join us. Just like last year, our students have been working and learning about important figures and areas of Black history, all the way from jazz music to engineers, authors, writers, athletes, HBCUs, and they are going to have their projects and what they've learned on display. We also are searching for Black-owned business people that would like to represent their business in, in our gym. And our JCC is going to be there selling some Jefferson swag. I've also been trying to get our Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts of Redford to come and see if they want to be there as well too. So I know some of you stopped by last year. We'd love to have you come and visit and see the work that we've been doing. In addition to that, I would also like to highlight something that is a little near and dear to my heart. Every month we do it's service to our community, and we have a Gleaners food distribution. I inherited this, but I am working really hard to keep it going on at Jefferson. I think it's a wonderful program. We have anywhere between 75 and 100 families that are coming and receiving fresh food and shelf-stable food, and we know how important that is for so many of our community members. So it happens the first Wednesday of the month at Jefferson. We start getting everything ready around noon, and we start loading cars at 12:30. So for me, it's a great way to get out there as I'm greeting families that are coming through and just making connections with our community. So it is a wonderful time. We're out there, rain, shine, cold, snow, 12 months a year. We also do it in the summertime as well. We do see an increase of families in the summer. So I did want to share that with you if any of you are looking to get out and see our community. We do have a lot of family that is coming through there. So that is all we have for you today. Great things are happening at Jefferson Elementary. One more little people there. All right, so any questions for us today?
Chair.
Yeah.
I have, you said you want to get some black-owned businesses.
Yeah.
How do they go about getting in touch with you to show us?
Yeah, so our JCC is working on doing that, so they have an email. I can definitely share it with you as well too. We've been posting it on our dojo and just kind of doing some outreach. So yeah, if you know of someone, we can connect today and I can get their information.
This is the business that I know is here in Redford.
Yeah, we'd love to have them there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other? I have one. The social studies with 0%, what are you doing to bring that up?
Well, and that's where we really wanted to highlight the integration of our science and social studies. We're finding that when students are making the connections with the knowledge that they're building and they're able to have that in multiple modalities, they're learning about the content within their SFA, they're learning about it within their social studies, and then we're bringing it together with them within the writing integration. That is where the research is in the content areas of science and social studies, especially at the elementary level. So that is something that we're targeting this year specifically. Yes, that is definitely something that we're seeing, and we know that we need to work on that. Nobody wants to see that, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is presentation, Hope Empowerment Coalition. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to the Jefferson staff for being here this evening and for your presentation to the board tonight. We appreciate you taking the time to be here this evening. And with that, at this time, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Brian Galdis from GrowthWorks, also our former superintendent from the Hope Empowerment Coalition, to talk with us about some SEL pieces tonight pertaining to child and adolescent suicide prevention. And so with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Galdis.
Thank you, Superintendent Bob Bravetsky. It's awesome to be back here. I want to start out just by thanking the board, Mr. Bob Bravetsky, Chris, for supporting the coalition in the way that you do. We have our monthly meetings here, within the community. Chef Tony always makes a nice meal for the social workers and administrators that come, and these are the kinds of people who aren't used to that kind of treatment. You can imagine how well Chef Tony treats them, and they really appreciate it. Also the district allows us to use Thurston High School for our conference, our annual conference, which is huge. Last year we had over 400 school-based school-based mental health professionals get quality professional development, and they're so thankful for it. We held it somewhere else before that, and it just wasn't big enough, and it didn't really meet our needs. So I can't thank the board enough and the administration for everything you do to support the coalition. I work for GrowthWorks now, and the name of the group is called the Hope Empowerment Coalition, and our mission is to together battle adolescent depression, suicide, and the stigma associated with mental health. I guess that's the end. So the coalition is made up of 9 school districts, and they're listed there. And 2 healthcare systems, Trinity Health, Livonia, and Corewell Health. We also have some service agencies that work alongside us, and the Redford Commission on Youth and Family is certainly one of those groups that have really been supportive of our work. So we have a steering committee that is made up of 1 decision-making administrator, as well as 1 person who's boots on the ground and works with kids every single day. And the reason it's set up that way is that if you just have someone who works with the students every day, it's tough to come back to a district and really make a difference. So we really needed someone who has the ear of the superintendent every single day and can represent the district and come back to the district and help move things forward once a decision is made. But I also know that if you're not working with kids every single day, then you're kind of removed from it a little bit. And so that's why we want every single school district has one of each. And that makes up our our steering committee. That's a group that really sets the tone and really decides what we're going to do as a coalition and a coalition of school districts and hospitals to move forward. And the representatives from South Redford are Erin Race and Shirley Ashford. Erin was actually supposed to be here tonight with me, but she's sick. And so she feels really bad about it. Well, I guess she feels bad because she's sick too, but she feels bad about not being able to be here. And so, but I will tell you that both Shirley and Erin, are leaders of the group. It's a pretty powerful group. It's probably the best of Wayne County mental health professionals. And you're looking at, 2 leaders within that group. So I'm going to run through a couple of statistics. You probably know some of these, but the second leading cause of death for children 10 to 14 is suicide. It's the only cause of death in the United States, the top 10 causes of death, that's on the rise. The rest of that being suicide, the rest of them are on the decline. And so it's certainly significant. And an indicator of the problem is 4 or 5 years ago, it was the third leading cause of death. Now it's the second. So that just shows you which direction it's going. So this information comes from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey done through the CDC. And these statistics are pretty much across the country. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic standard of a community. It doesn't matter race. It doesn't matter gender. It doesn't matter religion. These statistics really hold true for everybody. This is everybody's problem. This isn't the district next door's problem or the state's next door's problem. So these are the statistics that really drive me. When you look at, and these statistics are almost the exact same as the statistics we get from a state assessment, which is the MyFi. So almost identical numbers, two different instruments. So there's some things that we look at in terms of, what are some of the leading indicators and what are some of the trailing indicators of suicide, right? If you just study suicide, you're not going to be able to do anything. You really have to look at what causes it and then address those things. And so sad and hopelessness is a driver for people who make the choice to take their life. And so when you look at the statistics, 40% of the students have said that they've been significantly depressed or sad for a significant amount of time in the last 12 months. So Thurston High School has about 1,000 students between the school and SOAR. And that means 404 students at Thurston High School have felt, again, it's not one for one, but it's a correlation, right? There's no reason to think that Thurston wouldn't have the same statistics as every other community in the state or the country. 404 students have felt significantly sad in the last 12 months. 22% of students across the country have considered an attempt on their life. 1,000 Thurston students, that's 220 students in the last 12 months have thought about taking their life. 17.6% have made a plan. Again, if you extrapolate that across Thurston's numbers, 176 students in the last 12 months have made a plan. And this is the last number is the one that really drives me hard and is unacceptable. And we've got to do something. We've got to make a difference, and that's why the Hope Empowerment Coalition exists. Is this one number? 9% of students have actually made an attempt to some degree in the last 12 months. 1,000 students, that's 90 Thurston students who have made an attempt on their life in the last 12 months. It just is not acceptable. If it was if it was a disease or anything else, we'd be all about it, right? We shut down schools for COVID, and it didn't have this kind of an impact on our students. So this, I talk about this everywhere, and people have a hard time really, wrapping their hands around it. Especially when we talk about what does it mean for your community, right? But that's reality, and that's something that it's not acceptable. We have to make a difference, and that's why we're doing the work that we do. So this is a research study out of the University of Michigan, and currently there are 40,000 teens or kids who do not get treatment for the top 3 mental health conditions: depression, anxiety, and ADHD. So that means these are 40,000 kids who are identified and don't get treatment. Doesn't mean only 40,000 are identified in Michigan. It just means these are the numbers that don't get treatment. And the top 3 reasons is stigma, which is something that we have to break, right? Access to care, which is difficult. There aren't enough social workers and counselors in the state of Michigan, or really in the country, to meet the needs of the number of really kids and adults. It hits the adult population also. And then affordability. Mental health is not treated the same as physical health. So even if you're trying, or you have something identified, it's if you break your arm or have a heart condition or a kidney failure or something, you don't have you have 10 visits to the doctor and then you're fixed, or you're on your own. That's how mental health works a lot of times, and that just makes no sense. And so there's still a huge disparity between mental health and physical health. So how do we make a difference? So the coalition exists because of the things that I've talked about. So some of the work that we've done in the past, all 9 school districts have agreed to a common screener for students, as well as the hospitals within our area. So they're all using the same screener. And that's helpful to parents. Remember, a child in crisis is a family in crisis. And so it helps not to have to, every time you go to a different level, have to go through all of the screening again, different screeners. We're able to talk common language between all the different groups too. Student and staff suicide prevention training, QPR. I talked about this last time. We're over 6,000 people trained now across the school districts right now. And that doesn't count the students, that's just the adults. Data, we're working on collecting data. Data is an interesting thing, especially when you're working with school districts and across different things. You'd think it would be easy, it's not. But we are working on coming up with a way to collect data in an efficient way to know what's working and what isn't working. Research and recommendations, we have subgroups that meet and work on what are the best practices out there so that we can implement those. And then mutual support, this one was kind of something that we didn't necessarily intend, but we really, the networking that goes on between the people that I talked about in the steering committee, and really now we do the large conference here, but we also do some mini conferences at St. Mary, or at Trinity Health, the old St. Mary's. And the networking that I'm seeing and the friendships and the relationships that are being created has been incredible. Most of the time, professional mental health professionals in schools work in isolation. There may be only one in the building, there may be 2, but their schedules are incredibly full, and they don't really have anyone to lean on to talk. They don't have the other 1 or 2 first grade teachers to kind of talk about best practices and stuff. So we're seeing that across communities, or across schools and school districts. Also, when a school district has an issue, and Thurston did have a student complete suicide a number of years ago, and other school districts came to help Thurston and work with the counselors in terms of how do we best support the kids. You have to remember when a student loses their life, sometimes the people that are closest to them are the same person that we would lean on to help get us through it. right? Because of the social workers, the counselors, they're the ones in that, and they may be the most affected. And so, so there's this mutual support between districts, and it's not just South Redford, but there have been, probably over the last 5 years, there's been probably at least 5 suicides in our high schools, and every one of those schools relied on 2 or 3 districts around them to come and help them work through it. So professional development, I talked about the conference. We had 450 mental health professionals that were at Thurston that day. It was an amazing day. Then we've done some mini conferences. You can kind of see on the screen there. And I can provide you with this, or Jason, I think you have it with this presentation so you can have it. But you can see the different topics that we've covered with our professional development. So what are we doing moving forward? So we're working with the coalition in terms of how do we best support families when a student goes in crisis. So if a student goes in crisis, whether it be at home or in school, how do we best transition that student from that situation, from the office at Thurston or Pierce or Fisher? How do we transition that student in the best way to support that student and the family to the next level? It could be an emergency room, it could be residential care treatment, it could be home. So how do we best help that student transition? And then how do we help them when they're in their treatment? It could be a day, it could be 3 weeks, it could be a month that a student's out. And you can imagine the added pressure when a student's not in school. How do we work that through? And then how do we transition them back to schools once we've helped them support them when they're away from the school? Sometimes, particularly if we don't know, a student might be in residential treatment for a week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, and they come back to school and we don't know. And we're expecting that student to just act as if nothing ever happened. And that's just, that's not obviously best practice. So we're really working on how do we get the communication between the service agencies, how do we work together with emergency rooms, how do we work together with the parents too, to let them know, we got to break down that stigma. If we're here to help, and we're really setting students up for failure when we're not, when we don't have that communication going. So we're working pretty deep in that right now, and we're hoping to have a pilot model come out in September or possibly for next January for all schools that are in the coalition to be able to move forward with that. If anyone has a question, just go ahead and ask. So I know I'm trying to push through kind of fast, but so working on that. We also are looking at peer-to-peer programs. So if you want to be in the coalition, you have to do some of these things, right? And one of those is to have a peer-to-peer program. And so that is a program where peers are trained to help peers, not counseling, not try to figure out how to help a student who's depressed, but what do you do when you know someone? Kids know before parents, way before parents. So Jason's having a bad day and I'm talking to him and I'm feeling like, because I've been trained a little bit, what do I do? Who do I talk to? How do we make sure that he gets some help? And so there's a couple of different programs out there. I believe that South Redford is looking at Hope Squad, which is an excellent program, and Redford Union is also using Hope Squad. So I really think it's an excellent opportunity for the two school districts to work together on this, and as well as the community, because the school districts alone can't deal with it 9%. It really has to be a whole community, and so I really think that that's a great opportunity for us to work together with Redford Union and work that through. And we were able to get GrowthWorks is funding 3 years of the program. And so the cost to districts is minimized or really eliminated in some ways. And then we're also starting, I'm really excited about this one. One thing I know about working with students, working with kids' schools, is that we're not going to move that 9% of students making the choice to take their life if we don't get students involved. We need student voice and we need student leadership. And so we're starting a steering committee. The first meeting is March 1st. And we're gonna have 3 representatives from every high school. That's 19 high schools across the coalition. So 3 representatives that will meet on a monthly basis. And they'll be doing the exact same thing that the adult steering committee is doing. They're gonna be looking at best practices. They're gonna be talking about what's going on in their schools from a student perspective. They'll be giving guidance to the adult steering committee. The adult steering committee will be working with them in terms of, we're thinking about this, what do you think? And so there'll be, communication going back and forth there. They'll also be the ones who will be taking programs back to their high schools. And so I'm really excited about this. We're just kind of getting off the ground. It's going to take a little while for them to get their feet underneath them, but I think by September and early fall next year, that will really be a powerful tool for us moving forward. Questions?
Brian?
Yes.
What's the Hope Squad?
What is the Hope Squad?
Yes.
That is that's the group that I represent. Oh, I'm sorry, no, the Hope Squad. The Hope Squad it's a program out there that works with a peer-to-peer program, and so they come in, they train the teachers that are running the group. Students are selected to be leaders within the school that help promote wellness, mental wellness. They have some assemblies, those kinds of things. So it's really looking at the culture of the school and help bolster what they're doing well, and then maybe bring some things that they need in the building. So I can talk more about it later if you want.
Yes.
Redford Union has been working on this a little bit, and they actually, Channel 4 came in and actually did a kind of an expose on the work that they're doing. I can maybe send that to you. It kind of explains it a little bit better.
Okay.
Or, the other thing I can do is I can just get you information from Hope Squad too.
Okay.
That would be helpful. So,
Thank you.
okay. Other questions? We also do a lot of legislative things in terms of mental health, not only with the schools but also with the hospitals. We've done a couple events at hospitals. We've brought legislators in to talk about what is it like for an adolescent, particularly, to end up in an emergency room. There's some stories out there that really blew my own mind, that there are students who end up in an emergency room. They may be there for 3 days, sometimes 3 weeks within the emergency room because there's no place for them to go. And so, it's pretty rough in terms of mental health opportunities for adolescents and adults too, but our focus is adolescents. So we work with legislators to make sure that they understand what's going on and what are some of the things that are going well and some things that aren't working so well. That's it. Questions?
To Judy. Actually, more of a comment or to assist. I have a youth football program, and if you would like to put together like a commercial type thing where I can attach it to our web page and also have the announcer read it off at least twice a game for
Sure.
each game, that if you know somebody, you suspect somebody, here's a number to call, there's help for you or whatever, maybe we can link up later and
For sure.
get that going.
You know what else I can do? I would offer up, and this would be for any organizations that are within the community, is I would do QPR training for all of the adults, even some of your kids if you thought it was necessary. So QPR is it's kind of like CPR for mental health. It's actually this board's been trained. Those of you, right? Yeah. And so what do you do? So again, Jason comes to me and I'm noticing some things because I've been trained to look for red flags, right? And so what do I do next, right? Let's be real, it's sometimes hard to talk to somebody about mental health or, ask the question, are you going to kill yourself? Or are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking that maybe you don't want to be here tomorrow? That's tough. It's a tough question to ask. And so what do you do? And then if you find out that they are really in crisis, then what do you do? So it's training to help you work through that. It really just kind of gives you some tools and some looking at some red flags. We did a training for teachers 2 years ago, and I a friend of one of these teachers called me, and they said that they just want to tell us that their friend who was at the training actually came home and noticed some red flags in her daughter, and was able to use the training right then and there to be able to get the daughter the help that she needed. And when she was relaying this to her friend, who then relayed it to me, she said she just could hardly talk. She was in such tears. She truly believed that if it wasn't for the training, her daughter wouldn't be here. And she had no idea. She didn't know where her daughter was. So that's what that training does. And I'd be happy to, we can talk later about setting something up for anyone who's interested. So, yeah. And there's no cost. I don't get anything for doing it, but I would definitely, and if there's any other groups within the community, that doesn't even have to be South Redford or kid related. I would still, church, Dems Club, whatever, I'd be happy to do it.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss MASB board elections. I guess I'll do that. Oh dear, let's see. South Redford Board Education is an active member of Michigan Association of School Boards in Region 8. This year, Region 8 has one seat on the MASB Board of Directors for election for a 3-year term. The board is eligible to cast one vote. Voting in Region 8 will take place by way of online ballot. The online voting window is open until March the 5th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Candidates for the Michigan Association of School Board of Directors for Region 8 is attached. The candidates are Jason Babbage of Allen Park Public Schools, Dr. Anissa Hannon, Pontiac School District, Paul Colin, Bloomfield Hill School, Roderick Means, Westwood Community School District, Randall Meisen, Fitzgerald Public Schools, Scott Wallace, Frazier Public Schools, Ursula Rogers, Romulus Community Schools, and Lisa Valerie Knoll at Clintondale Community Schools. So, did everybody get a chance to read the bios and the people running for Region 8? Because that's who will be voting on. You guys want to take a few minutes to look over it? Yes.
There's, reading through all of it, there's one that really stands out and with commitment and a long-term experience and dedication would be Roderick Means out of Westwood Community School
Yes.
District.
Yes.
And I think he sent some of us a personal email explaining who he was, his missions, his thought and stuff. So I think he's one person we should look closely at and discuss about nominating.
Yeah, I agree. I think he has 28 years on the school board, and he's really done a lot, and to me, he has a great commitment to the school board. We'll probably, next board meeting, we'll probably consider who we like. For those of you in the audience, the person that we looked at was Roderick Means, and he has 28 years on the board, on the school board, and he's received just about every award there is to receive for the school board. And I spent 3 days with him in the Advocacy Institute, and he's just a all-around fella that is really committed to our school board. So, well, the school board, he's in Westwood, which is the Inkster School, is out of Inkster, so. So at our next meeting, we'll consider who we should vote for, okay? Next item on the agenda is consider Thurston High School boiler replacement project. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes.
Thank you. Certainly, if our guests from Jefferson, as well as Mr. Galdis, would like to get about the rest of their evening, you're certainly welcome to do so. However, if you would like to continue to stay for the remainder of the meeting, we're also glad to have you. So, with that, at the board meeting on January 27th, 2025, the board discussed bids for the Thurston High School boiler replacement project. Bids were received and bids were solicited and received for the work. The company that is recommended for the work required is Delta Temp Services LLC for $653,900 and a 10% contingency. Total expenses not to exceed $719,290 is requested to cover any unforeseen costs associated with this project. The bid award would be paid for out of building site sinking funds. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
To the chair,
Yes,
I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution, please.
it's been moved by Mrs. Fletcher. Do I have a support? It's been supported by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 5 ayes, 0 nays. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda, consider Jefferson Elementary, Vandenberg Elementary, Fisher Elementary, Pierce Middle School, and Thurston High School moving project. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. At the board meeting on January 27th, 2025, the board also discussed bids for the aforementioned schools that President Tolliver just mentioned pertaining to the moving project. Bids were solicited and received for the work. The company that is recommended for the work required is Palmer Moving for $204,780. A 10% contingency, total expenses not to exceed $225,258 is requested to cover any unforeseen costs associated with this project. The bid award would be paid for out of the 2021 bond, and a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
To the chair,
Yes,
I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution, please.
it's been moved by Mrs. Fletcher. Do I have a support? Supported by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
0 nays, resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda, comments from the audience, topics not related to the agenda. Are there any? No. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Plus Delta Plan for Improvement. Mrs. Davis.
Madam President, what processes help the board's work this evening? Process?
To the chair?
Yes?
I appreciate the presentation from the Jefferson teachers. Appreciate you guys taking your time to come after school to talk to us. It's very important that we get our children's scores, and I like seeing the videos too.
All right. Any others? I also appreciated Brian's presentation. It's just so sad to me that in this day and age that we're going through this. And we do have to do something. And Brian, thank you so much for all the work that you do. Anyone else?
Madam President, what opportunities for improvement might the board have? Deltas?
Are there any? Well, I guess there are none. All right. If there's nothing further that comes before this board, I adjourn the meeting at 7:48.